So here we are. And for those of you that don't know who I am, which I'm sure most of you do, my name is Jyotidana, and I'm based at the Shrewsbury Buddhist Centre. I live about 20 miles away in Oswestry, or near there. I work in Shrewsbury. And my name, in short, means one who gives light. So that's very good, isn't it? Most of the time. But even I have batteries that, you know, sometimes need a recharge, especially in the winter. But yeah, very good. And lovely to see you all. Yeah. Have I forgot anything? Yes. Okie dokie. So I'm going to talk till roughly about 8:15, and then we'll break into groups for about 15 minutes. So that will probably be online and here as well, or we can just have a discussion here if we want. Decide that in a bit, and then we'll have a break. We'll come back, and then I'll announce that we're having a break, so you know that we're having a break, so that you enjoy your break. And then after the break, we'll come back and we'll meditate together, and we'll finish with the last Vandana, okay, which will be led by Jairatna. And thank you to our brilliant tech team and to the beautiful, beautiful red shrine that we have here. Yeah, and so thank you to Annie for that. And I arrived early, and Annie was doing a great job, just doing it. And it was pleasurable to watch. She was just getting into it and just doing it. And it's beautiful. I've got a flower right by me here as well. So yeah, it's all good. It's like a big night out for me tonight. So I'm going to be talking tonight about a taste of freedom. So this is one of the talks by Sangharakshita in one of his lectures in November 1980. And he's done so many lectures, so many lectures. And there's an awful lot of them that you can find online. Or we've got CDs for those of you that are still into CDs. And there are transcripts as well of the talks. And I listened to his talk, which I don't always do. I tend to read more, but I found it quite entertaining. And Sangharakshita, you know, he's very precise. He's very knowledgeable, and he goes over words again and again, almost tiringly so. You know, it's like, oh, yes, okay, I've got it now. But it's so important to know the Dharma well, to know words well, you know, to just go over it again and again, just take it in that bit more. But there were certain bits where I found myself laughing that I didn't expect to do, you know, because it's quite a dry talk, taste of freedom. It's a Dharma talk, you know, 1980s lecture. And at one point I was having a real laugh. So that's good, isn't it? So yeah, that's good. So hopefully we can do that tonight as well. Yes. So Sangharakshita starts his talk by asking, what is Buddhism? And don't worry, I won't be asking you for answers. But what does it mean? What is Buddhism? You know, think for yourself, really. What is it? Because we use this word a lot, don't we? Buddhism. Oh, yes, it's Buddhist. What does it mean? What does it mean to us? What does it mean to others? What did it mean to the Buddha? And in the Buddha's time, Sangharakshita discussed that the Dharma was given in many different ways. It was expanded in many different ways to many different beings, many types of being. But I'm doubtful that the Buddha himself called it Buddhism. In fact, I'm sure he didn't say, I'm going to talk to you about Buddhism. And the text that I'm going to be talking about tonight, The Taste of Freedom, the Buddha actually describes Buddhism in that time as an image. So it was his way of passing it on as an image. And I find that really beautiful, because some of us are moved by images, some by words, some by, sounds. And I think, yeah, how would Buddhism look for you if you had to describe it as an image? So there's a passage in the Pali text called the Udana, in which the Buddha and his followers are sitting in a deep forest under the moonlight. And they sit for many, many hours in harmonious tranquility. They're not chatting, they're not fidgeting, they're not going, oh, it's a gnat bite, I'm itchy. When do we finish? They were sitting in calm tranquility, with only the moonlight, with the Buddha, still as one. And they sat for many, many hours like this, until after much time, the Buddha spoke. And he talked about the Dharma being like a mighty ocean. He said, and this is the important bit, just as the great ocean has one taste, the taste of salt, so the Dharma Vinaya has one taste, the taste of freedom. Just as the great ocean has one taste, the taste of salt, so the Dharma Vinaya has one taste, the taste of freedom. So in a way, it's sort of like a mythical, vast, endless space with unknown depths. That's how I'm kind of seeing it straight away. It's like, wow, this is big. He spoke about the ocean being like the Dharma Vinaya, and the Vinaya bit, it means principle and practice. So I looked that up for you tonight. How good was that? It's vast, ever moving, uninterrupted, with ever-changing colours and sounds, unfathomable depths filled with mythical creatures, just like bodhisattvas in a way, and jewels. And we now know that the ocean is also filled with fish and pollution. But at the time, the Buddha would have seen this beautiful, vast sea. It was said that the Buddha himself and his followers lived hundreds of miles from the sea. So in a way, he probably only heard about it. It was probably hearsay about this vast ocean. And I was thinking of imagining that, about how you would describe the sea to somebody that had never seen it. How would you do that? I'd probably say, oh, it was a bit watery, it was a bit cold. But the Buddha talks about it like this beautiful, magical, mythical, ever-changing, ever-fluid force. How would you describe your experience of the Dharma to somebody using an image? We could do that in groups later, couldn't we? The Buddha talked about the 8 wondrous and strange qualities of the ocean and the Dharma Vinaya. And like the mighty ocean, the Dharma too is infinite and, as I say, continually moving. And it's adapting and it's singing to us. It's alive, it's vibrant, it's brilliant with colour and mystery. It's not fixed or static. It's alive. And I quite often as a child used to love going to the sea and just sitting and looking at it. And I still do. It's my therapist's couch. I think there's a poem about that somewhere. And whenever I feel that the world is too much with us, I'll just go and sit on the beach for a bit and just look at the sea. And sometimes it's murky and a bit scary, actually. It's a bit scary and it's a bit black and it's a bit angry and it's a bit deep blue and it's all coming at you and it's spilling over. And I realise how powerful it is that it can take on wood and metal and brick very quickly. The ocean is a powerful force. It's also a beautiful force. And it glistens and it changes and sometimes it sings sweetly. Sometimes I paddle in it. Sometimes you can dive in it I wouldn't, because I'd drown, because I don't swim. But, you know, some people, they do all sorts of things in it. It's a life force. And the Buddha in those days, he would have sort of brought that into, you know, into his talk for others. It was over 1,000 years ago. So that's what the Buddha would have related to. That's how he would have seen the Dharma within nature's elements. So imagine seeing the ocean for the first time. Imagine tasting the water, hearing the waves, coming into physical contact, plunging in, dipping a toe. How wondrous and strange this would be for the very first time. So how was encountering the Dharma for you for the very first time? Was it wondrous and strange, a bit peculiar, a bit scary, or did you just know? And Sangharakshita, in his talk, he says that the Dharma, encountering that for the first time, is wondrous and strange. Meeting or contemplating the Buddha's qualities is wondrous and strange. And spiritual life in all its many aspects is equally wondrous and strange. He was very enthusiastic in his talk at this point. He was taking me along. He was sort of really hitting it home. It's wondrous and strange what we're doing sitting here tonight. It's wondrous and strange. It really is. What are we doing here? You know, we're practicing the Dharma. Why? Because we're passionate about it. And Sangharakshita really had oomph in his talk, you know, in the sort of 60s, 70s, 80s. He really was quite oomphy, to the point where it was a bit like, okay, you know, but it really was. He didn't mess around. He said that after practicing for many years, though, we can lose our wonderment, wrapped up in regularity of words and concepts and external forms. We can become engaged in study and books, rituals that we carry out because that's what we do, communication exchanges because that's what we do, we hang out, our jobs and our individual lives. We can often lose our sense of wonderment after a while. In the everyday, it can just become, oh, my meditation, my practice, my study, my Dharma life. It can just lose its edge and its excitement and its exhilaration. And he goes on to say, in a very firm voice, that there is no spiritual life in the Dharma Vinaya without a sense of wonderment. There is no spiritual life in the Dharma Vinaya without a sense of wonderment. And you can reflect on that yourself. I think it's helpful to reflect on that. Is there truth in that for you? He also said that familiarity builds perhaps not contempt, but indifference. So as we become familiar, even with the Buddhist teachings, even with the Buddhist center, even with the Sangha, we don't maybe have contempt, but we can just be a bit indifferent. We can start to grow slightly indifferent. And again, it's worth reflecting on the effect that indifference has in our lives. And what are the consequences of living with a mind filled with indifference, or a world where we are all indifferent? I looked this up on Google. Indifference. It means lacking concern. It means lacking interest or sympathy. It's a sort of weak enthusiasm, I think, really. It's like, oh yeah, I'll just go along with things. Yeah, that's what we always do. Yeah, I don't really mind. I'll just do it. You know, it's that sort of thing. And perhaps we do that, or some of us do that at certain times because it feels safe or easy, or we just get used to things. And that's what we do because we do it, because we're Buddhists, or we do it because we do this every day. That's what we do. So how do we live our spiritual lives in enjoyment? In all its many aspects. How do we keep the Dharma flourishing in our lives? and keep it wondrous and strange. How is our spiritual path? Is it a path of enjoyment or drudgery and despair? And I suppose I was thinking, actually, when I was listening to the talk, Sangharakshita was talking about enjoyment. And at one point I was thinking, well, it isn't always enjoyable. I've been really grumpy sometimes, especially on retreats. You know, I remember wanting to go home once, but I couldn't get the car out of the car park, so I had to stay. It's a bit embarrassing telling you that, really, isn't it? But yeah, so it's not all enjoyment for me. Let somebody in. But yes, in a sense, there has to be an element of enjoyment about what we are doing, because otherwise, why do it? You know, if you came here every night and thought, oh no, I've got to spend time with the Sangha again, it's all like, well, what's wrong? You know, why is it that bad? You know, what is it? What is it? So investigate it as well. You know, I was investigating it. If I don't find enjoyment in my Dharma life, I just think, oh well, this is the bit where it's quite exciting. It's finding out the nitty-gritty and digging a bit deeper. Yeah. And I have to say that we, you know, for myself, I go through little phases. You know, the Dharma is my life. It has radically changed my life and benefited myself and others and the planet for me practicing. But, you know, I do have days where I fall out with the Dharma, and it always forgives me. That's good. So there's listening to the audio talk by Sangharakshita was very funny. There was a bit where he was saying, meditation is enjoyable. Meeting the Sangha is enjoyable. Right livelihood, Buddhist communities are enjoyable. And he was talking, you know, really sort of quite fun. He was saying, feedback is enjoyable. It's sort of like going to things that we don't really want to go to is enjoyable. And I started laughing. I was thinking, oh my goodness, this is quite funny. And I think the people who he was talking to, the Sangha at that time, were having a bit of a laugh. And I think Sangharakshita was as well. Because in a way, you know, it all helps us to grow and develop. So even, you know, if somebody sort of says something and sort of says, oh, actually, you know, every time you do that, when you come in, you bring mud into the shrine room, and then you kind of go away and think, oh God, but actually we're learning from it, aren't we? We're learning about respect and being careful and mindful, and, you know, so in a way it is enjoyable, but I've got to look at that a bit deeper. I've got to listen to that part of the talk again, I think. So what is the taste of freedom? So the Buddha says it's just like the ocean. And Sangharakshita says, well, he talked about it as vimutti. He talks about the Pali word for freedom as vimutti, or vimukti in Sanskrit. And it's not freedom in an ordinary sense. It's not freedom as in, I like to do what I want when I want. You know, I like to get what I want. Or I think that a certain political party should be in because we'd all be free. It's not that sort of freedom, although that is very important, and it really is to me. But it's something a lot more mysterious, a lot more deep. Yeah. It goes beyond political and civil liberty. It goes beyond the psychological level of freedom. And he talks about the nidanas, which some of you may be familiar with, the nidana chain, the 12 nidanas, which lead us or unfold us to the seeing or experiencing of things as they really are. So I'm not going to go into the nidanas tonight because, you know, it's such a big talk, but some of you may know about the nidanas, and some can look that up or talk to people. In the tea break, what are the nidanas? That's a good conversation over tea, isn't it? Yeah. So in a way, we're sort of looking at a rising insight, and there being no freedom without insight. So there is no vimutti without insight. There being no vimutti whilst we are bound and tied up to mundane everyday existence. So you may have heard of the term entering the stream. Yeah, there's a few nods. There's a few sort of, a few stiff necks. Yeah. or stream entrant. And this is in relation to breaking through the 3 fetters. So it all gets a bit complex. So I would advise listening to Sangharakshita's talk, because it was his talk. So I'm just doing a little bit of a promotion really for him. Yeah, his talk is really, it's very, very good. So there's 3 fetters that hold us back. There's actually 10 fetters, but let's park that straight away, you know. So there's 3 fetters which hold us back, and I've written them down so we don't forget them. The 3 things that hold us back in our lives as Buddhists can be personality, view, or habit. So always thinking that this is how we are. And you might have heard people say, you know, this is me, this is who I am. If you don't like it, well, this is what you see, is what you get. I think I said that when I was about 16, you know, one of those. But actually, we can shift ourselves. We can shift ourselves from our old habitual patterns, our fixed rigidity, our past lives of, oh, this is me. And in a way, we're trying to break through the habits, our bundle of selves getting in the way of growth and development, rigid fixity of habit. The second fetter is doubt and indecision, or vagueness. And that, in a way, is a bit undecided and uncommitted. So, you know, you kind of half commit to things. It's like, well, I might come and I might not. Or I might meditate this morning, but I probably won't. It's that kind of thing. And I am a Buddhist, but only on a Wednesday. So that kind of thing. You might laugh, but I think I said that when I first came along many, many years ago. The path that we've chosen to undertake is commitment. Then take it, you know, don't dither. Don't sort of be indecisive. We want to follow the Dharma path. If the Buddha had dithered, we wouldn't be here today, you know, because he'd be like, oh, I might go back to the palace. No, I'll carry on. I might cut my hair. No, I won't. But yeah, so be committed, be creative, be clear, and act wholeheartedly. And sorry to those on screen, we lost you for a few minutes, so we're 1 fetter ahead. Oh, Alex got a thumbs up, that's good. And the last fetter is grasping ethical rules and religious observances in themselves. Again, it's superficiality in a way. That we just go through the motions because that's what we do. We've always done it, and that's what we do. And I always think, question everything, question yourself. It's the biggest thing to question. Question your own mind. You know, why am I doing this? Why am I bowing to the Buddha? Why am I doing this? Why am I studying? And I think it's so important if we want to continue to have that wondrous, strange enthusiasm, to question our own mind, to question our decisions and our commitment. Why are we doing it? And sometimes in that stillness, something will arise in me and I'll think, oh my gosh, of course, that's why I'm doing it. I know why I'm doing it. So yeah, be enthusiastic, share your enthusiasm, you know, tell people. There's a quote that I'm going to read that Sangharakshita, well, he mentioned a guy who I don't know, but it doesn't matter, called Matthew Arnold. And he talked about our sick hurry in the talk. He talked about this verse called Our Sick Hurry. And Sangharakshita said of Matthew Arnold that he'd said that we are in a hurry, a sick hurry, yet our aims are divided. We don't really truly do anything. We don't do it with the whole force of our being. And when we love, we don't really love. And when we hate, we don't really hate. We don't even really think. We have to all these things. And it's the same when we take up the spiritual life. We meditate with only part of ourselves. We communicate with only part of ourselves. And we work perhaps only with a part of ourselves. We go for refuge even as we think with part of ourselves. And consequently, we don't get very far in the spiritual life. We don't really grow or develop because we don't carry the whole of our being with us. A small part of us is rushing ahead and a large part of us is dragging behind. I heard someone go, and so that's good. Yeah, and I resonate with that. I think you know, we're a bit of a mix, aren't we? Really, we're a bit of a mix. So we briefly covered vimutti, which is freedom. And the next thing the Buddha used is the word taste. So why did he use the word taste? And in his lecture, Sangharakshita says that every aspect of the Dharma has a taste. It has the taste, not a taste, the taste. The question being, amidst the many Buddhist practices, rituals, teachings, arts, and cultures, do they have the true taste? So are we sort of immersed in lots and lots of Dharma, but are we getting the true taste of the Dharma coming through? So we've got loads of practices passed down over the years from loads of different cultures. There's so many different books to read. Is it true Dharma? Is it taking us forward? Is it helping us grow and develop and become more of a true individual? Or is it just a nice book that we quite like on a Sunday night with a cup of tea? And that's okay as well. But, you know, this is taught by Sangharakshita, and it's quite punchy. It's quite punchy. Is what we're practicing leading us to freedom? Is it weakening the fetters of fixed self-view, habit, and rites and ritual dependency? Is it supporting our journey to insight? Are we becoming more true in our individuality? Are we becoming more true individuals and letting things go and changing and growing? Are these things leading to that? Are our practices leading to that? Or are they sort of going a bit like, ooh, ooh, back and forth a bit, you know? Sangharakshita says that if they're not doing this is a bit stern, they are not part of the Dharma. And again, this is all food for thought, because as he was talking, there was a bit of me going, oh, I'm not sure, I don't know. So I think in a way his talks are good for that, because it really does stir you up a bit. You know, it's not a nice flowery Dharma talk. It's a real sort of like wake up and, you know, reflect and check. And it was quite good. And there was bits of me that was disagreeing as well with the audio tape. You know, I was thinking, I'm not sure, I don't know. But that's great, because it brings that sort of wondrous strange back to light, doesn't it? Like the mighty ocean. It's mostly beautiful. Sometimes it's really scary. And I think that's the excitement in a way for me. The Buddha's teachings are there for growth and liberation. That's what they're there for, really, for us and the world and other beings and our planet. That's what they're there for. When the Buddha used the word taste, it is the taste of direct experience, the flavor of which we enjoy. It is beyond an idea or concept. It has one flavor, like the mighty ocean has the flavor of salt. It has only one flavor. It's not salty or a bit salty with a bit of sugar thrown in. It is the taste of salt. It's the pure experience. Freedom is to be tasted and experienced. To be free of rigidity and conditions would be amazing. And I feel, you know, in a sense that, yeah, I do get a taste of that. It's not a full taste. It's probably like, you know, 30% salt and about 40% saccharin, but it changes, you know, and one day we could get the full taste of salt. Do we want it? Do we want the full taste of the Dharma? So, just going to finish with 2 points that the talk kind of pulled out. Sangharakshita said there was 2 points to bear in mind. Only the true individual is really free. We become a true individual by developing insight and by breaking the 3 fetters. And just as the great ocean has one taste, the taste of salt, so the Dharma Vinaya has one taste, the taste of freedom. Yes, indeed. So if you want to hear the talk or read the talk, it will be on Free Buddhist Audio. And yeah, I think it's worth sometimes revisiting Sangharakshita's talks. As I say, some of them I sort of think, oh, enough. But I really think that's fantastic, because it doesn't, I never go to sleep when I'm listening to him. You know, I always feel a little bit sort of a bit edgy or something. And I think in a way the Dharma is there to shake us up as well. You know, it's not a calming sort of saccharine life. It's an exhilarating life. It can be a bumpy ride sometimes. It can also be, as Sangharakshita kept saying, enjoyable, 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 enjoyable. I'm not always sure, but, you know, I do agree to quite a large extent. So I think we'll finish there.